what I want to talk to you about today is how to move out of feeling triggered and back into self-compassion, because I think it's a very appropriate subject. I think that we have all had experiences recently that can trigger negative emotions in us, and possibly cause us to go into reactivity when we want to be more responsive. And because we're all very self-aware people, we're always trying to get back into center, back into alignment. So these are just more tools and probably more reminders for you of how to do that, especially when you're in a situation that feels highly triggering. It's good to just have a recap of your tools so that you remember to pick them up, okay? If you haven't been offended in 2020 yet, just wait. It's coming. It's coming. If you haven't felt upset about something in 2020 yet, it's coming, right? So if we're already in that space of like acceptance around this, that's going to make it easier. It's going to take the pressure off of you that you are somehow handling this wrong. I want to start by saying you are absolutely not handling this wrong. You are in 2020, right? With the rest of us, all of humanity is having their moments and they're being triggered. And what we're watching, especially if you're on social media, and I'm going to talk to you about my personal experience with that because I've had to really adjust a lot. You're watching people react all over the place. React. That's not to say that action isn't necessary. It just means that where are we taking that action from? From a defensive, reactive place, or from a considered, responsive place where we have considered what's happening and we choose how we respond, right? So when we're triggered, we generally aren't choosing how we are responding to the outside world because you're human. Just as much as you are this magnificent celestial being, a multi-dimensional being, there's also a part of you here in humanity. And it's that part that we're going to address, and that part we're going to send loving kindness to and help today. We can know what's triggering us. I think that's pretty easy to identify right now, and there's plenty of opportunities and examples out there for us. So I want to move right into talking about our tools and what we can do to move out of that triggered state. Okay, so here are 5 steps that I'm bringing you about going out, moving away from being triggered and moving back into compassion. Okay, so step number 1, it's actually pretty simple. You probably already know what it is, but it can be really hard to do in the moment, and that is to walk the heck away. Stop it. Stop the madness. Get out. Okay, so as soon as you can realize that you've been triggered, that you're feeling strong negative emotions, I want you to step away from whatever it is that's causing these emotions. Okay, so if you're on social media, get off. If you're on your phone, turn it off. If you're watching TV, turn it off. If you're in a conversation with someone, ask for the time out. Walk away from what is triggering you. Because we want to avoid responding from this place. It won't be a response. It will be a reaction. It'll be a defensive, reactive state. It'll be a knee-jerk response that we are for sure not able to control while in that space. If you need to say something, if it's just as soon as you walk away and it's gnawing at you, see if you can find a friend that you trust or a space that you trust where you can say, look, I just need to vent. This happened and I need to put this somewhere. That is the best way to handle it. Then you can have what I call the temper tantrum. I many times I need to have the tantrum before I can shift, and that is okay. It's okay. We just don't want to have the tantrum in direct response to whatever it is that's triggering us, especially if it's another person, because it's just going to go back and forth, ping pong back and forth. So we want to walk away from whatever it is. And then if we need to have a tantrum, we can mindfully choose where we do that and kind of set the boundaries that this is me venting, this is me having the tantrum, and then let ourselves go. The next step is to get off the blame train. Now, this is interesting because we can tend to blame not just the other person for our feelings, but we can blame ourselves. I can't believe that I call myself spiritual, or I call myself awakened or aware, and I'm triggered, right? That we start blaming ourselves. And of course, there's always the blaming of others. And all this does is it's like fuel into the fire, right? It just keeps that reactionary state alive. So what we want to do is we want to be generous in our assumptions around ourselves and around others. All right. So if we stop the blame, period, no matter what they showed you, what it says, if you can stop the blame, it stops putting fuel on the fire. So we are generous in our assumptions. We know in this group, you guys already know that we're great storytellers. Human beings are incredible storytellers. And we tend to tell incredible stories about our life. So when we see something that triggers us, we are definitely going right into the story of this person's coming after me. This is personal. How dare they? Right? Like we can really get that storyline going. Since we don't know the real impetus for what is being put out there, since we don't know that, what we can do then is change the story we tell by being generous in our assumptions. Such as, this person must be really hurting to consider putting that out there, right? Or this person simply doesn't know the other perspectives available. Maybe they're really stuck in their perspective. We want to get to a place where we're actually feeling compassion for the other person. Now, the actual feeling of compassion might come later, but if we at least start with a different story, rather than a story of it being personal, because the truth is, most of the time when we're having these triggered moments, there's sort of an interaction between people. And the negative story that can come in is that this is about you. This is a very personal thing. They're attacking you specifically. That's the story that our triggered mind tends to tell us. It tells us we're being threatened directly. When we can move into that generous assumption place, we can change the story we tell. This again helps to stop the blame, and it takes the fuel out of the feeling. Now you're starting to sort of mellow as you are allowing your mind to consider what else could be happening here. Maybe this person had a really rough experience in their past, and this is a reflection of that. We don't know. So by coming from that place, we soften ourselves. Remember that your feeling triggered at all is absolutely okay. Again, it's not that you failed to be a highly spiritual or highly aware person. It simply means that this is telling you something. That this information out there, whatever it is giving you an opportunity to do some healing right now. So let's talk about the next step, which is to take the time out. Okay, so we're going to talk about, not only are we going to walk away from what triggers us and walk away from the story that we tell, but we're going to remove ourselves from the environment as much as we can. So we're going to, we turn off the TV, the phone, we stop the conversation, and we move away. And we want to move away in a way that is nurturing to ourselves. So by taking a time out, this is a direct act of self-compassion. The very first thing you're doing, what you're signaling to your brain and body, is that you are a safe space for you when you move yourself away. And that develops that sensation of trust between the animal of the body and the mind, right? They're starting to sync up now, because the body wants safety and the mind is going to provide it by moving you away from the threat. So here are a couple of ways that you can move yourself away from the triggering event that is perceived as threat. Okay, we can simply put all the devices down and go out for a walk in nature. I know that a lot of you here are already so deeply connected with nature. It's probably your go-to remedy. If you're like, I don't feel good, you take off the shoes and socks and you go stand outside on the ground and you start feeling better. That's a great way to deal with this. Going for a walk in nature, another great way. When I can't get outside, when I really can't get very far away, what I do is I change my perspective by laying on the ground and putting my feet up the wall. It's a great perspective changer. Most of the time we're upright, we're sitting up, we're standing up, whatever it is that's triggering us, most of the time is happening in an upright position. So if we can lay down and put our legs up the wall, we're doing a couple things here. One, we're changing our perspective. We're going to literally look at the world differently. And two, we're going to activate the parasympathetic system. We are going to move out of physical fight or flight, and we're going to move into the parasympathetic system, which tells us it's okay, right? So what happens is your heartbeat naturally slows down because it doesn't have to pump the blood so hard through your body. And when the heartbeat slows down, the breath slows down. And when the breath slows down, the mind says, I'm safe. So legs up the wall is a great way to deal with taking a time out and feel when you're feeling triggered. Obviously, things like writing in your journal is another great way to move through that triggering energy, and sit and meditate. Meditation, as much as we can, sitting and meditating, getting ourselves into our observer self who is not triggered because it knows that it's not about this experience. It's bigger than this. It's observing the experience. So when we can move into that part of ourselves, then we let go of all the little tiny pieces that can be causing us to feel pain and suffering, because we know that it's an illusion. So obviously doing any of those, and a combination of those as well, will help you move away from the triggering event. We want to let go of expectations. Those of you who might be a fire sign or an earth sign, I don't know. As an Aries, that can be a little hard. I tend to feel in myself sometimes that if I'm doing the work, I should get the cookie. That's a Therese thing. I did the work, now I want the cookie. And I just want to say, so my idea of the cookie is I want the outcome I desire, right? But that's still an expectation, and that still creates pressure. I'm creating unintentional pressure. If you're expecting yourself to get over it, or you're expecting other people to change, this is going to create a sensation of pressure, and pressure can create that anxiety. So instead, we want to move into a place of acceptance. It is what it is. One of the things that I say to myself when I'm trying to move into a place of letting go or surrendering is I say, this might never change, and I'm still going to be okay. This might never change, and I'm still going to be okay. So that's a statement I say to myself to help me move into surrender. But what I want to tell you is, change is inevitable. Of course, something's going to change. It will change. It's just that we can't control the when or how it changes, right? So by letting go of our expectations, we're freeing ourselves from being in a fixed mindset, which is a closed mindset, and allowing ourselves to move back into an open mindset, into a flow state. So when you're in flow, your thoughts are more magnetic. Your thoughts are more magnetic when you're in that flow state, and you will naturally move toward the experiences that feel better for you. So it's simply by letting go of how it's going to look, when it's going to happen, who's going to do it. When we let go of all that and we surrender and say, this might never change and I'm going to be okay, what happens is we've moved out of a locked mindset. We've moved back into flow. And when we're in flow, we're more magnetic, which means we're going to naturally attract the experience and circumstances that would give us what we want by letting go of trying to get it. It's so beautiful how it works. The last step, after we've done these pieces, we're going to take that little moment of, we're going to find what's feeling good right now, because it's when we're triggered, we're hyper focused on what feels threatening or what doesn't feel good. We're hyper focused on that. And sometimes our brain says, this is the only truth. The only truth is suffering. The only truth is the threat. The only truth is pain. That's what the triggered mind will say. When you can acknowledge that something right now is feeling good, then you break that sort of spell that you've put on yourself. You've broken that lie that the reality of pain or suffering is the only reality, and you've opened your world back up. So what you want to do is find something that's happening at this exact moment, that's really happening for you, that feels good. And it might simply be that you took the time out, that you gave yourself compassion, or that you chose to be compassionate to another. So you want to find whatever, or it might be that your stomach's full, like you just had a snack and it feels good. Or maybe that you're getting to, your body feels relaxed now or something. But you want to find the thing that's actually happening that feels good. And you want to focus your attention on that and allow that to expand. Allow that to be more of your reality, because you get what you focus on. So yes, there could be suffering or pain mentally or emotionally, but there could also be peace, and there could also be something that feels good. And wherever we're focusing our energy is what we're going to experience more of. I want to take you through an exercise to create heart-mind coherence. And this is something that I absolutely love. I've been practicing it as much as I can. I especially appreciate practicing it when it feels like I want to constrict. Because one of the things that my team in spirit says to me is that it's the day, right? It's the day you don't want to meditate that you should meditate. It's the time that you don't want to open your heart that you should practice opening it. It's the time that you're giving up on praying that you should pray. These are the critical moments that when we do the thing that's going to help, no matter how we initially feel about it, it is going to change something. These are the most potent moments to do these things. So I want to talk to you about going through the heart-mind coherence as a way of getting back into that place of feeling safe and creating more expansion and joy in your life, even if something negative has happened. I want you to take your hand and put it on your heart. We're just going to start by acknowledging our heart physically, getting our attention to focus in on our heart. And then we're going to move into breathing. And there's a couple of things I'd like you to do. I'd like you to take a deep breath in through the nose. And when you breathe out, you're going to purse your lips like you're blowing out a birthday candle. And the intention is to create a nice long exhale. So again, deep breath in and out. And keep breathing like this. And now I want you to imagine as you're breathing in, it's coming into your heart chakra, and as you breathe out, it's going out through the heart chakra. And you might notice that as you're putting all this attention on the heart, that the intense energy of the mind, it starts to release. I imagine like a brick of ice melting. It's melting, it's dripping down the back of your neck, and it's going into the pool of your heart. So keep doing the breathing in and out. And feeling that tension go. All right, and as you continue to breathe and bring all of your attention to your heart center, I want you to think of someone or an animal, a person or an animal, someone that is easy to love, easy to appreciate, or easy or to take care of. The thing of, I want to take care of you. So picture that person or animal. Imagine looking into their eyes and just see that exchange of love between you and them right now. And now, just repeating after me in your mind, say to them, may you be happy. And now hear them think it or say it back to you. May you feel safe. And they're saying it back to you. May you know peace. And now they're saying that back. May you know deep, deep love. And let yourself receive it back from them. And just have some awareness around the state of your body. Notice how relaxed you are. Notice how it's easy to smile. And I want you to notice the warmth in your body. This is called spiritual warmth. Your heart is now warm. And with this warm heart, I want you to ask yourself a question. Holding that energy of giving and receiving love. The question is, am I going to be okay? And the heart answers very simply, your intuition lives in your heart. When your intuition responds to you, it responds from this center. So when you have a critical question to ask yourself about your life, about your future, about which way to go, you can do this heart-mind coherence exercise. And once you're warmed up, ask the question and you'll get the direct answer. So to add to a level of self-healing to this, I have a mantra for you. Now that we have a nice warmed up heart, you can leave your hand on your heart. And we're going to go back to the breathing. And I'm going to have you repeat this mantra in your mind while you breathe. Okay? So the first part is we breathe in and we think, I am willing to love myself. And as we slow exhale, we think exactly as I am. Again, I am willing to love myself. Exhale, exactly as I am. One more time. I am willing to love myself. Exactly as I am. And you can use this mantra anytime you need it. It's a great way to move into the present moment, to let go of expectation, to move into self-healing and self-compassion, to move into surrender to your higher power. I am willing to love myself exactly as I am. When you give yourself compassion, you become a space of compassion. So important. It is so important to give it to ourselves. The more we give to ourselves, the more we have to give to others. So we are moving into more intense energy as this year goes on. There's going to be beautiful shifts that occur too, but the intensity of the energy is definitely going to grow, and it's important for us to understand that there's multiple layers happening at this time. Remember, you hear a lot of people talking about 3D to 5D, right? The consciousness. So at a 3D level, what we're used to from our past, what we're looking at is, it kind of looks like tremendous chaos. On a higher level, what it looks like is transmutation as we're going up into higher frequencies. The kind of amazing and sometimes difficult thing is that we get to experience it at the level we're at, right? So if we get triggered, we tend to go into that lower energy, which puts us on a lower timeline in which we experience pain, suffering, chaos. We really see kind of the darker aspects of everything that's going on. By allowing ourselves to take the time to get back into our self-sovereignty, back into our heart center, we then can choose to raise our frequency, use our tools, do the work, and we move back into that place of responsiveness. And again, by tapping into our own intuition and understand what's really going on for us, that we're moving into higher frequencies. Most of us are going to transition into those higher frequencies. Everyone in this group that's here is going to do that because you've intended it already. Even on the subconscious level, you've already chosen that. So, but we are going to watch people who haven't chosen that. We're going to watch those who really struggle. And it is important that every one of you who identifies as a healer understands that your job first is to put on your own oxygen mask and take care of you. Get into self-compassion, get into self-healing, self-care, right? We're putting on that mask so that we have the capacity and the ability to help others when they want it, right? So we're not going to go into what I call the trauma triangle. The trauma triangle, it has the persecutor, the victim, and the rescuer. And many healers tend to jump right into rescuer because they see, oh, this person needs help. Oh, this person is wounded or they're struggling. When we jump in without being asked or without the assistance, we go into rescuer mode, which means we become part of the trauma triangle, and then we have to experience the different parts. So we can opt out of that whole paradigm completely by doing the self-care work that you're doing now and continuing to do it, and holding the intention of capacity to help others and the space to help others, while allowing them to come to that decision for themselves. Because this is a time, as we're ascending, to own, right? Remember, with Jupiter in Capricorn, in fact, we have like 3 planets in Capricorn. With all of that Capricorn energy, this very much is about taking personal responsibility. It is each and every one of us job to save ourselves. And I don't mean that in a very service to self kind of way. I just mean it's our job to recognize that no one's going to save us. It's not that we got ourselves in. They show me this picture in my head of the little kid. I don't know if you ever did this as a kid. I think I might have. Putting their head through the staircase banister, right? Those little, and the kid put their head in, and now they need help getting out. And my team says, you put your head in, you can get yourself out. And that's kind of the energy that everybody has to accept and acknowledge, is that we got ourselves in and we can get ourselves out. It doesn't mean you won't have assistance. It just means that every single one of us will have to take responsibility to do it. And those who play victim and say, I can't, they're still going to have to get to that place where they take responsibility. As a being of light, as a healer, it is our job to be there ready to assist when they ask. So that's the only difference, is we're not jumping in because we see someone struggling. We are waiting for the invitation to assist, and we will get plenty of opportunities. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But again, we want to make sure that we're keeping up our own self-care. We're putting on our oxygen masks. We are checking in with ourselves and doing the healing work in us where necessary, so that we can continue to detach from the illusion of the darker timeline, lower negative energy. We're not going to be there anymore. We want to be gentle with ourselves. It's not about perfection at all. It is not. Perfection is actually, this is such a good point. Perfection is an illusion of the false timeline. It's illusory world we're leaving. Perfection, right? I'm supposed to get this and now I'm good at it. That's false. The reality is the natural timeline is about the process and the journey. And so some days it is easier to catch ourselves because we're not as emotionally involved, or there isn't anything we need to clear on those days. There are other days where there's like, you just tripped on a big old bag of baggage, right? And now you have to work through cleaning that up. And so feeling triggered or emotional or tempted, all of that becomes a lot more activated on those days. So we're going to let go of this. I did it once really well, and now I'm supposed to do it well every time. Not at all. It's just this awareness. We keep coming back to awareness. What am I doing? Right? Where can I take personal responsibility for how I'm involving myself? And the whole exercise that I talked about was really kind of like taking that read that I'm involving myself in something, and I'm making it about me when I really don't have to. And as soon as I have that awareness, then I can start to move away from that event. I can start to detach and move away, and I can look for the gift. So whenever we have negative, triggering experiences, there is always a gift there. There is always the gift of clarity. Aha, this is something in me that is attached, right? I'm attached to this idea or this outcome. And one of the ones I learned recently is there's been a lot of attacks on spiritual people lately. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's, there's a lot of like hit pieces and articles attacking spiritual people, and it's disturbing to see. And I definitely got triggered. I was like, what? I couldn't believe it. It just blew my mind. It blew my mind so much. And then I realized the gift here was that it was showing me how much I was attaching to identity. And identity is attaching to personality, and personality is ego. So I was like, wow, the gift here is that my ego is really activated by this. And then I am putting too much weight into the identity of spiritual. I'm a lovey spiritual person, and this makes me better, right? Like, and that's what my ego says. I'm spiritual, so I'm better, right? And I was like, oh my God, and so it got to the point where for a couple days I was really triggered by it. But then as I got that clarity that there's a part of me, the ego part of me, playing the elite game, which is the false timeline of better because spiritual, right? That I was attaching to that, and that was being attacked. And I realized that this was an opportunity to set myself free, that I am bigger and I am more than that. It's something that I'm comfortable. My ego is very comfortable labeling myself this way because it feels good. It feels really good. And yet, as long as we're attaching to identity or personality, that will continue to be attacked and attacked and attacked and attacked right now, because the universe is clearing these attachments for us, because we won't need them. We're not going to need them as we move forward on the higher timeline. They only served us in third density. And we're out, actually. We're out of third density. We're in beginning fourth density. It will not serve us anymore. We don't need the ego. The ego was only there to allow us to make a choice of, am I taking this spiritual journey with you by being of service to others, or am I going to take it by myself and say, you know what, I don't need anyone, service to self, right? That was what the ego was created for, was simply to help us make this choice, so that we could continue on our evolutionary journey. So once we make that choice, the ego starts to be a type of baggage that's no longer helpful. And so part of what's getting triggered in us so much is, where do we have ego attachment? Where do we have identity attachment? Where are we attaching as a personality? Those things are going to continue to be triggered in us, so that we can come to an awareness and then make more choices. Do I keep getting offended by this and defend my own ego, or do I recognize that my ego is being attacked and that I'm operating partially from an ego place. And when we get that aha, it's more choices. I love it. I mean, the universe, the entire universe, this entire journey is like a choose your own adventure novel where at the end of the chapter, you're going to make a new choice. And it's like the universe is just like, what you going to choose? I'm fascinated by what you choose. Right? So I'm sending you guys lots of love and appreciation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so that you know the next time I release a new video. Until then, stay magical.